As a sci-fi fan, I was brought up properly by my father on repeat episodes of Star Trek as a little kid. And then 1977 happened. And 1977, I don't really need to say any more to real sci-fi fans. We had Star Wars. People queuing round the blocks just to watch a movie. That's something you don't see anymore. But that's the impact that film had, and I've watched most, if not all, of the Star Wars films since. In fact, I think I've watched every single one either at the cinema or on Disney Plus. So it's with a heavy heart that some of the backlash from fans has been impacting on the pleasure that they've been getting, if you like, from the films, because the story as it's been retold and reimagined by different people, certainly under Disney, hasn't necessarily followed the ideology, the storyline, the character definitions that were in the original trilogy and the prequels. It's like all of a sudden Luke Skywalker became, I don't know, a quitter. That's the complete opposite of Luke Skywalker. And it's things like that that disillusion fans. But what I'm bothered about more than anything is this word woke, which has been used and thrown at Star Wars under Disney. And I hate this word woke. It is decidedly nasty. It's not a nice word. It is a word that has been invented purely by people who want to carry on abusing women, wanting to belittle others, and wanting to carry on being racist and misogynistic. And they've created this word woke as a nasty title, a catch-all to anybody who cares about anything that is decent. And therefore, anything that is disagreeable in Star Wars has to have been because of a woke culture. Well, the thing is, if you don't approve of women being treated as second-class citizens, that's just being decent. Okay, thinking that people are equal, that's just being decent, not being racist and judging people on their origins or their colour of their skin. And let's face it, sci-fi, you've got people from different planets. So surely different skin colour is just a stupid way to judge someone when you look at it from that perspective. And yet you've got racism. And if you're not racist and you don't object to the fact that there's more people of different ethnic origins in a film, then therefore you are woke. No, it's not. They're not there just because they to make up numbers. They are there because hopefully they are the best at the job. And then you've got the feminist agenda. Now, this has been thrown in with the woke criticism for all of Disney Star Wars, because you've got female lead characters. Most of the people who are anti-Disney and anti-woke tend to be the kind of males that want to have boys' own sort of heroes. Luke, Han, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader. You can't have women as the main characters. They're forgetting about Leia. Oh, she's the pretty one. No, she wasn't just the pretty one. She did her fair share of the fighting as well. So when you've got someone that comes along like Daisy Ridley and they give her a lead role, that's no bad thing. Ahsoka isn't a bad thing. I mean, for God's sake, it's absolutely fantastic. This agenda against anything that's decent using the word woke as a criticism, as a sort of a swear word, as a sort of a belittling anything that is it. I don't agree with having feminine leads for the sake of feminine leads. Okay, that's. But if the character is full and well written, then, and it has a storyline and an arc, it doesn't matter whether they're male or female. It doesn't matter whether they're human or alien, whether they're good or bad. It's the story that matters. It's the story and the writing and the philosophy and the fact that all of a sudden you've got Jedi, Sith Lords that can catch laser shots in midair when Darth Vader couldn't do that. These things, actually he could, but that's not the point. The changing of the rules, the changing of the story, the changing of the meaning of the whole thing, and when an empire breaks up, you've got to look at history and say, okay, the rebellion at the end of the original trilogy, the empire was defeated in a battle. The empire wouldn't have gone away straight away. There would have been a big war, and then the new order would not have sprung up in 5 minutes. There would have been factions, there would have been breakups across the galaxy. It would have splintered into many different things, as it would have done in history. Instead, they've created this new order that suddenly springs up from nothing and takes over the universe and destroys Coruscant in one big thing with a weapon that nobody saw them building. It's this kind of writing, this kind of storytelling that kind of ruins the thing. And that's not woke, that's just disappointing writing, disappointing storylines. Okay? Snoke, complete dead end. Palpatine coming back, that's desperation. The sequels were not coordinated, the story wasn't planned, there wasn't a story arc between all three, as Lucas had done on the first 6 films, and that's the problem. It's nothing to do with woke and whether there was a female lead or whether there was different people of different ethnicities in the films and in the series. That is this kind of messaging that is feeding this far right agenda that seems to be perpetrated by politics. Whether you look at the current American administration, whether you like them or not, they are definitely more to the right. And the word woke is used as a weapon by them to justify what they do. You've got the same thing happening in Europe, and you've got the same thing happening everywhere that someone wants to dictate and change the world to a more hateful, more suspicious. Those who are populist, they don't give you answers to anything. What they do is they give you reasons to distrust and dislike others. They play on your fear. And words like woke merely feed that fear and mistrust, but bringing it into franchises that are designed basically for children and young adults is merely bringing a training into the hate that is feeding this move to right-wing neo-fascist ideology and using it to criticise Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica or any sci-fi. Personally, I find that really, really uncomfortable. So if you're going to criticise the new Star Wars, and there's lots to criticise, there's lots I don't like. I mean, the new trilogy, I like the Daisy Ridley character, Rey. I like her storyline. I think that Finn was good in the first film and then completely misused. Second film, they what they were doing, I don't know. But then he turned Luke Skywalker into a coward. So whichever way you look at it, right, it wasn't the Star Wars that we wanted to see. That's the writing, right? That is the writing. That is not down to this woke idea. This is just somebody who just doesn't know Star Wars, doesn't understand Star Wars. He did a great sci-fi called Sliders years before. That's fine, but it wasn't Star Wars. And I think he just did not understand the whole thing. And if you're going to do a trilogy, you should have someone who's in charge of the whole trilogy, who sees the arc, who creates an arc of storyline all the way through, so it isn't disjointed. It's like the problem with Star Wars now is that the storyline is damaged in the same way as Star Trek is damaged by creating a whole new timeline. The same thing has happened with Star Wars by the same guy, because there wasn't a plan all the way through the trilogy. There wasn't a storyline that was consistent through it. It was made up on the hoof as you went along. That's the problem. And the problem is, how do you follow that? How do you move the story forward from that? That's got nothing to do with woke. That's got to do with writing. That's got to do with not thinking beyond a film. But then the other argument that they'll say is, it's just a movie. We're filmmakers. We're making a movie. We're not making something for the fans. Well, I'm sorry. If you create a world, a universe, and you populate that universe, then fans get into that. You create canon, history, and storyline. I think it goes a little bit too far when you get books and other things that are not related to the movies, creating canon that is then brought back and thrown at you as storyline and proof that X, Y, and Z happened in the past before the Jedis and the Sith split and all things like that. These are separate entities, right? I understand movie makers want to make a movie. It is a movie. It is entertainment for 2 hours. But when you create a universe and you have a story arc, that story arc has to be respected and carried on. And that is what the Disney trilogy failed to do. The series done by Dave Filoni have definitely improved things. The Mandalorian as well. Another series, well written, within the same world, within the same universe, and it fits in to the storyline. But the problem remains, after the last trilogy, how do you take the story forward? And I suspect that this is going to be a big problem for the new Rey movie. If you've got a fractured story that doesn't follow the arc and the direction of the first 6 films, and then you try to carry on from a broken storyline, something that doesn't work and is disjointed and last minute thrown together to try and bring the trilogy together. If you try to bring that all together like that, it leaves nowhere for you to take the thing in future. Yes, you can go further into the past, and I would love to know about the time before the Old Republic. I'd like to know about the early Sith. I'd like to know about the early Jedi. I'd like to know about some of the characters, but everyone seems to be inside their own little bubbles of what they want to see. But the people with the power to make the story don't take the time to read the books. It's like somebody making a film about history without paying any attention to that history. All of a sudden you've got a situation where, I don't know, Napoleon won the Battle of Waterloo because somebody decided it would make a better movie. This is the problem. The problem isn't this woke thing that is used as a nasty metaphor for anything that you don't like. You are in danger of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There's some good in the new stuff, as well as a lot of bad. But the problem isn't this idea of woke. It's the fact that there isn't somebody who understands the history, overlaying and controlling the direction of the storyline. If you'd had someone like Dave Filoni and you'd kept George Lucas as a consultant in the storyline for the trilogy, you would have had a story arc. You'd have still had room to expand on that and create your own ideas, but you'd have had a thread that runs through it that is consistent with the original films. That is the problem. And this word woke that is used as a catch-all to criticise, personally it grates. And I'd like to know in the comments below, is there anybody out there that actually agrees with me? I'm sure there'll be plenty who disagree with me, because the loud shouty people, they use the word woke as a weapon. So I expect to be accused of being woke rather a lot. But let's face it, you guys, I've no respect for anybody who criticises anybody else. The Me Too movement was just about women getting raped. It wasn't woke. That was just civil rights. That is just the rights of women. How dare you give that a title like woke? And diversity. Does it matter if someone's Japanese, Chinese, black, white? If the story's good and they are good actors, that's what matters. At the end of the day, don't most racists go straight down the beach and try and get a tan? It is absolutely disgusting. So next time somebody says the word woke, pick them up on it. Because let's face it, it's disgusting. And let's start moving forward and talking about storyline and the stories rather than using nasty little titles. Because at the end of the day, if you're criticising the Me Too movement, which is just about women who objected to the idea of being raped in order to get a job, that's what it was about, right? It wasn't something unpleasant. It wasn't something disempowering men. The men who wielded that power were a small number of creeps, and they have no place in the film industry. The majority of men, right-thinking men, they support the Me Too movement. And for me, whatever you think of him, Brad Pitt standing up to Harvey Weinstein, that, to me, makes him more of a hero than most of the actors who did nothing. But the fact remains, this word woke has been created by bad people in order to change the narrative and to criticise people who just want to do the right thing. There's nothing wrong with doing the right thing. And I think the use of it, especially when you're talking about a sci-fi franchise, I just think that's creepy. What did the girls out there think? What do your girlfriends think? Leave your comments below. I'm sure there's plenty who disagree. But if you agree with me, leave a comment. Don't stay quiet. Don't let the noisy people shout you down. Add your voice. Because at the end of the day, the kids who watch the future of our beloved sci-fi series, they are going to be affected by the decisions that are made today. And legitimising that word when regarding anything that you don't like is just, I'm sorry, that's creepy. Because at the end of the day, if woke is used against Me Too because men don't want to feel that they don't have the right to just grab at a girl, if I can't have a black girlfriend or a black character in a story because someone thinks it's woke, even though that actor could be absolutely fantastic, that's, I'm sorry, you're the loser, not me. And you're the one that basically is falling into a rather sad little trap of just objecting to common decency. That's basically all woke is. So if woke is anything that is decent, then yeah, I'm woke. But you, if you object to people objecting to women being treated badly, well, I'm sorry, you're creeps. Anyway, we'll actually talk about some story in the next one. I thought I would just get that off my chest. Sorry about the rant, and we'll see you next time.